Jacquemus. I mean, Jacquemus is a designer that I feel like on these streams we talk about a lot. Jacquemus, I have described him as a marketing genius. I genuinely believe that. I think that the marketing strategy of Jacquemus is very, very good. On social media, a lot of their runway shows make all the rounds on social media because of how the sets look, whether it's as you can see on the screen now with the Lavender Field show, or there was a show that they had that was on the Salt Flats. These are shows that are able to garner a certain amount of interest on social media. And it's something that I've always thought was great about Jacquemus. The branding is top notch. You think of the marketing campaigns, the cafe, everything really channels this South of France sensibility that I think the brand is going for anyway. But my only critique about Jacquemus is as time progressed, it almost seemed like Jacquemus, the brand, cared less and less about the clothing that it makes and cared way more about the bags and the branding and the marketing. And so, yes, the marketing became really amazing, but it almost felt like the clothing became an afterthought. And I've felt like past seasons of Jacquemus, especially in recent times, the clothing has been extremely uninteresting and nothing to walk home about. So that is just something that I felt bad about when it comes to Jacquemus, because some of the earlier shows I'm a big fan. The reason why I became a fan of Jacquemus in the first place was because of the clothing, to be honest. So it's sad that, the focus has become bags and those kind of things. But from a marketing standpoint, I've always thought that Jacquemus was really, really great. I mean, even talking about marketing, if you look at their latest campaign that they did, they've had a collaboration with Apple. And even in the show that I'm going to be reviewing, the Spring Summer 25 show, it was all filmed on an iPhone officially, on an iPhone 16 Pro Max. Even when you look at this campaign that Jacquemus did with Apple on an iPhone, there are many odes to different elements of the collection, whether that's the bags that they made for the collection, the Trump Loyal banana peels, you can see the feather dress, in the ostrich feather dress in the corner. You can see some of the looks from the runway show. You see models wearing white lab coats and then revealing the dresses under the lab coat. You can see someone measuring something, whatever that fake measuring is. You can see people vibing, but also actually still wearing looks from the collection. So from a marketing standpoint, I've always just thought that these guys are really, really ahead of a lot of other brands, and they make things really fun. Shot on iPhone, as it says there. So yeah, but anyway, jumping straight into this season's collection. First of all, I will say that this is one of the best Jacquemus collections I've seen in a very, very long time. Like I said, it's shot on an iPhone. That's kind of why it's in this vertical thing. It's actually quite annoying. I want to see the clothing. I feel like every single brand these days is trying to do everything possible to make sure that we don't see the clothing. And I don't really understand that, because if you're showing us a runway show, surely you want to give us a way to see the clothing more clearly. And if we have less space because it's shot on an iPhone, that's not really good. It doesn't have to be vertical for us to know it's shot on an iPhone. They could have done it in a landscape mode, but I don't know why they didn't do that. I don't get it. Maybe they're trying to bring home the point that, this stuff is shot via an iPhone. Now, in terms of the inspiration for this collection, Jacquemus said that he was revisiting codes from the 50s and reimagining the 50s today. When you read the show notes, he talks about this idea of imagining Jacquemus in that time going on a voyage from Paris to America in the post-war time. And that was around the time when clients had this big optimism for French fashion. We had things like the new look in 1947 by Christian Dior, and there was this buzz and optimism post-war that there was really going to be a return to the greats of fashion in France, and France really bolstering itself back into the forefront of fashion. And so Jacquemus kind of reimagines his brand existing in this time, going on a voyage from Paris to America to introduce couture collections to the likes of American clients, which is what couturiers used to do back then. Some of them didn't actually go to the US, but they had different buyers that would take their patterns and sell it in the US and kind of introduce their things to the US. You also had magazines like Harper's Bazaar that had people like Carmel Snow that would be the correspondent in Paris and then relay a lot of the information to Harper's Bazaar New York, where this information would be disseminated to clients and customers in the US that were interested in these things. So it's kind of looking at that side of fashion. And that's why when I looked at this collection, the first thing that made so much sense to me almost immediately is why the models are walking really slowly. If you watch couture collections, old couture collections, and some of them you can see them on YouTube, models walked really slowly. And a lot of times the salons were completely quiet. So it's almost weird actually. It's just, you hear like, duh, duh, when the models are walking, because there's just no sound, there's no music in a lot of these shows, and it's really quiet. So that's why the models are walking, and I actually appreciate that, because going to a lot of runway shows, something I find really annoying is it's too distracting. You have this crazy set, there's flashing lights, there's loud music, there's an orchestra in the corner, there's models walking really fast. I actually feel like I get more from, actually seeing stuff online and looking on Instagram than I get being at the actual runway shows, because you don't have time to take anything in. Everything happens so quickly. And so a good thing about this collection is people that are there, and even us watching, have time to really pause and look at the garments. They had time to really ponder about, oh, I wonder what fabric that is. That's an interesting technique used. I like what they did there. I like what print they've done. So that's something I really appreciate about returning to this haute couture, slow walking salon sort of vibe. And that also makes sense why they chose to use these sort of wooden paneled rooms of an apartment, because it kind of fits into the salon theme. Because couturiers would normally do these kind of shows in salons, and there'll be doors. I mean, you people have seen Demna's couture collections. It's kind of the same vibe when he's using Cristobal Balenciaga's original salon. You see that they walk through corridors and through empty doorways and stuff like that. So I really, really enjoyed that part of the collection, to be honest. We see all these different jackets, dropped waists, tall skirts. This is kind of his way of modernizing clothing from that time period. And I thought, some iterations were done better than others. When it comes to the menswear, a lot of the menswear was, referencing American sportswear, because Jacquemus described this collection as this interplay between France and America. Of course, these couturiers traveling from France to America to talk about their collections and really to market their collections. So when you look at the menswear looks, a lot of them are associated with sportswear and sports clothing from back then. That's why you have men wearing these sort of shorts, and you see men wearing things like these really nicely shaped windbreakers in this really thin leather fabric, suede jackets worn over polo shorts, that sort of stuff. So it was cool. I heard a lot of the critique online about the fact that a lot of these garments look like copies of other looks. And while I don't necessarily think I agree with that, only because, okay, yes, people said that, oh, a lot of this stuff looks like a Liya, and I can definitely agree. Liya is famous for, especially now, these sort of barrel leg jeans. Not that they invented it, but it's kind of what Liya is known for these days. The barrel jeans that look like this, and you had these kind of shapes in the Jacquemus collection. And I remember someone spread a rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, that essentially a Liya staff member joined the Jacquemus team. So that was something that was mentioned. I also saw a lot of Balenciaga cocoon shapes that I noticed in this collection. There was even a skirt, like the circle skirt from Edith Head. So there were a lot of inspirations, but then you could chalk it to the fact that Jacquemus was actually looking at that period as inspiration. And the big reason why I'm going to refrain from saying everything is an outright copy is because some of my favorite Jacquemus collections actually look like this anyway. They have the same shapes. I think a lot of people just aren't really too privy to a lot of Jacquemus's clothing in the past. And that is their fault, to be honest, because like I said, I think nowadays Jacquemus seems like an afterthought. It seems like they don't really focus on the clothing anymore. And so a lot of people now, when you think of Jacquemus, you associate it with this overly commercial, easy to wear, not pushing any sort of fashion boundaries clothing that we have come to understand Jacquemus for, at least in the past, let's say, 3 to 4 years. So that's kind of why I could see why people are saying that, to be honest. We also saw a lot of other accessories. There were tote bags that were in this orange color that Jacquemus was saying is an ode to the USA. Once again, they're calling it sort of this basketball orange grain leather that they were working with, in lieu with this sort of France meets America in the 50s and 60s aesthetic. So that was nice. I did like a lot of the dresses. I did like a lot of the silhouettes. The bags is what Jacquemus excels in doing. So seeing really nicely created and crafted bags are really interesting. Also, there's a dress, which you can see now, which is actually made of ostrich feathers embroidered. And it was actually made in collaboration with Le Maire, which is really cool to see. Anytime I see a nice Jacquemus piece on Essence, I remember I was warning about their quality and I'm like, shame, but I'm not dropping 800 for an Amazon Basics quality jacket. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their quality is now, but yeah, my experience is that the quality isn't great, to be fair. Monte Brown says, looked like he was influenced by some of the Marni polka dots and prints as well, that Marni and others were influenced by 1950s America. Once again, I don't really agree, because one of my favorite Jacquemus collections, or one of my favorite periods, let me actually show you guys so you know what I'm talking about. My favorite Jacquemus collections are like Fall Winter 2017 and also Spring Summer 2017. And if you look at those collections, you'll start to notice that polka dots is actually like a Jacquemus signature. Like, he's been doing that forever. Like, the exact same way. Like, look, if you look here, Fall Winter 17, look 13, you can see these polka dots here. If you look even Spring 717, also, I'm sure you'll probably find polka dots in this collection too. Here we go again, like across multiple looks. So this is not, this is what I mean. Like, when people are like, oh, but you copy polka dots from this person. He's been doing this. Like, this is not something new. So I think sometimes it is good also to kind of get familiar with what designers have done in the past. Because when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that reminds me of the Fall Winter 17 and Spring Summer 17 collections. It doesn't necessarily remind me of other designers, because polka dots is something that he's done loads of times, to be honest. This shot on iPhone, it's like, just in case you didn't know, we're going to tell you that these are shot via an iPhone. They did not want to let us rest on that. But yeah, I genuinely think that this is probably one of the strongest Jacquemus collections I've seen in a long time. Of course, people are going to say that he copied this and he copied that, but like I've shown you guys, a lot of stuff is him just referencing Jacquemus from the past, from a time of Jacquemus that I actually liked, before things went tits up in my language. But yeah, let's have a closer look at some of the collections. We even see, okay, they've got some gloves to accompany some of these looks. I didn't notice that the first time looking. And you can see a lot of, like, this is definitely like, this just reminds straight up Balenciaga cocoon shape immediately. There are a lot of Christian Dior, like I saw a Christian Dior-esque A-line dress. So there were those silhouettes there. And of course, he is referencing that period. So, I mean, there's nothing too surprising there. I did like these shoes. This woven technique that they've used to make the footwear. I did enjoy these shoes, to be fair. These like kitten heels. Here, once again, this is kind of like more of the Alaya shapes, like the barrel leg that everyone was talking about. I do love those shape of trousers though, like really wide barrel shape. Got some more cocooning over there. You've got the bags with the leather gloves. I like this collection a lot for all the reasons it's caused such controversy. Yeah, you even got gloves, let's see, in these different, kind of like a dotted cheetah effect going on. Let's go some more. I remember some people were drawing parallels to this and Schiaparelli. And I get it. I get it to an extent. Here, once again, you've got the feather technique that they used. I did like those pieces, to be honest. But I think, anyway, at this point, you guys get the point of the collection. Let's just speed past. This is a very strong A-line. Let's just speed past some of the looks. And even though sometimes when it comes to menswear, and this is what I mean when I sometimes say that a lot of designers don't know how to design menswear in an interesting way, they always reference like American sportswear and stuff like that. It's always same old, same old. This is what I was talking about when I said a lot of designers have the same inspiration points. I don't really understand it because history is so vast. Why is it that designers don't end up coming to different conclusions when it comes to these things? Here again, they have this banana yellow that they're talking about. They also have this print of different bananas. There were also optical illusions and trompe l'oeils of these bananas in bags made in leather, which was a cool touch. It's very interesting because in the show notes, they were really honing in on the exact fabrics that they used. Like they'll be talking about white organza with figure skimming knits and stiff indigo denim. And like, is them saying that the denim is stiff indigo denim, is that supposed to denote quality? Is that what they are getting at with that? Here's the polka dot technique that I was saying that Jacquemus, I've seen from Jacquemus many times before. And I don't know why people are acting like polka dots are so not original, in the sense that no one owns IP on polka. They are polka dots. I don't know why people want to say that, oh, he copied this or that. Anyone can make I can make polka dots tomorrow and you couldn't tell me it's influenced by someone. They are literally polka dots. It's not that original anyway. Like, people have been doing polka dots forever, even before your favorite couturiers did them. A big focus on kitten heels, which is very different to what we usually see from Jacquemus. It's almost like this collection is, Jacquemus has been catering to, when I look at his garments, I just think of like very young people that are his audience. And then with this collection, it's almost like a complete 180, where this is catering to a more mature audience. The kitten heels, the A-line dresses, the, techniques that they've used with the ostrich feather, the smart tailoring for men. It's very grown up by Jacquemus standards. Stripe. This is super Liya, by the way. I've definitely seen that on an Liya runway before. Okay, let's just speed through these. I do really like the shoes, though, I'm not gonna lie. The shoes are really, really nice. Extremely nice. And so now when you look at the marketing campaign, it starts to make a lot more sense in context. You can start to see like some of the ideas that they had. But going back, because I really want to hone in on some of the past collections. So like Fall Winter 2017, for example, is one of the best collections I've seen from Jacquemus. Once again, you can look at the silhouettes and draw parallels to the more recent collection. This is when he was being a lot more experimental with tailoring and silhouettes. Like, you see him being really playful, a single button, but a really big button. You can see how it curves to both sides. He was really actually trying to push his tailoring forward before. I don't know what is going on with the modern Jacquemus, where everything just looks like you can find it in COS or something. I don't really know what happened. Like, I understand make money, but at some point, what happens if the bags don't sell as much? If your garments people can buy anywhere and buy cheaper versions of your garments elsewhere for probably similar quality on a lot of the pieces? Because like I said, some of the experience I have with Jacquemus in the past, the quality is extremely, extremely questionable. Like, even the hats, I like it. There is a Schiaparelli vibe to it, but I'm a big fan of it. Even I remember, because Jacquemus had these sculptural shapes to the bucket hats that were really chic. It's almost like every chic, nice aspect of Jacquemus is almost gone over the past 2 to 3 years. But I think what this latest collection is a return to that. But I wonder how long it's going to stay for. And if it only takes Jacquemus to look back at a certain time period, like the 50s, for it to bring out these kind of silhouettes and these kind of shapes with the brand. I think he draws inspiration not just from European designers, but from art as well. I mean, yeah, and he has cited a lot of art that he's inspired by in the past. So I can definitely agree with that. I definitely believe that to be true. Like, one of the artists that I think he even said inspired this collection, I'm not sure if he said it, but it was mentioned somewhere that Henri Matisse, like the shapes of Henri Matisse's artwork, really influenced the shapes of the garments in the latest collection. Let's see, but I'm just showing you guys, just so you can see what Jacquemus has done in the past, because I feel like a lot of people watching might not be familiar that Jacquemus actually used to make clothes like this. Like, following on this idea once again with the big buttons, like poofy sleeves. Like, this stuff to me is just great. And that's the thing, I always say that I judge collections on a collection by collection base. I don't dislike any designer, so I have no agenda to kind of go into a show or a collection and bash a designer off rip. But that's my issue with Jacquemus. Like, if you just look at his past work and compare it to anything that he's done recently, it always falls flat. Like, look at some of the stuff he was doing in the past. Now, if we go to modern Jacquemus and we look at some of the stuff that he's done, you'll see exactly what I'm getting at. Like, this 413 ready to wear, like stuff like this. Like, compare what I just showed you to a collection like this. Like, there's no comparison, literally. And also here you can see the sort of polka dot vibe again. So like I've told you guys, it's a signature of Jacquemus. So you don't copy anyone when it came to the polka dots. Like, look at some of these collections. Like, It's night and day, literally. It's quite literally night and day. Like, it's almost like, it felt like as a designer, Jacquemus was regressing, which is really bad. Like, designers are not supposed to regress. Fernando says, he and Daniel Roseberry are considered similar in certain ways. Jacquemus feels very ready to wear in certain aspects, but he's trying to move to more high-end. Meanwhile, Daniel is very high-end. Okay. Jacquemus gives beginner designers, someone will ask if that's vintage or Liya, hanging on the last thread, then the response will be, no, it's just Jacquemus and his cheap materials. Damn, guys are harsh. You guys are extremely harsh. Oh my gosh. But anyway, yeah, that was just the Jacquemus collection. I really wanted to touch on it, but I also wanted to address like some of the stuff. Yes, a Liya, a conversation can be had there, but in terms of other silhouettes and polka dots, it's stuff that he's done in the past. So I'm not very inclined to say that, you know, a lot of this stuff is a copy done by him, to be honest. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Jacquemus collection for anyone that was interested or wanted to know.